Soft Abilez. Soft, tell us what it was like working on this film.
I loved working on this film. I had a great time with the cast and with the crew. It was really nice because I've always wanted to play someone who represented myself, and I feel like in some weird way this character does represent who I am in real life because I brought myself to the role. And I think the funnest part about playing this role was being a queer actress, being trans, and allowing that to influence my decisions as an actor in the film. This film is about how fucked up the system is. We imprison the wrong people. There's plenty of criminals going around doing terrible things in our government who present themselves as heroes and they're not. I could list a ton of people, but I'm not going to do this in this interview. But just think about the recent election. I feel like this film really shines light on how we are punishing the wrong people and we are told lies. And I think Shy, my character, reveals the lies that are going on in the world. And she wants to be a martyr. She wants to stand for what she believes in. She wants to stand for all of her friends who died, all of the queer people who raised her. It's important to her to never back down just to stay safe or to survive. She doesn't care about that. She cares about the future. She cares about what's right for everyone. And I think this film is about the people who are looked down upon and aren't understood. And I think it makes people ask themselves, how can we understand people who are different than us? And should we act with aggression if there's something we don't understand?
Yeah, how did the queer trans experience inform your performance in this role?
It informed it a lot because my character, Shy, is disregarded by society and, she's put in prison. Her backstory is not explained in the script, but I have my own backstory. And I just think that the idea of someone who is typically misunderstood, someone who is like a minority in other people's eyes, being put in prison, it's shining light on problems that are actually going on in the world. And I think Shy is so artistic and opens the mind of Lauren's character so much by telling her the ways that she lives, the way that she views art, and the way that she views life just to get through life, and how she doesn't really want to be here. And I think that queer people have a very unique way of approaching life. And yeah, I think it's something to learn from. So a typical day on set would be, I arrive, we would go upstairs, get ready, do our makeup. I would talk to George about the costumes that I was going to wear that day. I would bring options that I felt resonated with what we had previously talked about. And I think it was very fast paced. I feel like everybody was on top of their game, and I was given a lot of space to play, which I really loved. I loved how I had a whole cell to myself and nobody else got to play in that cell. It was my space. So I got to put my energy in it. I got to draw. I got to, express myself through my outfits from my own closet. So it was, I just think being on set allowed me to bring a lot of myself to the role and to the story.
Can you talk about a little bit about fashion and costumes and how that played a role in all of this?
So Shy is very imaginative. She has no boundaries when it comes to style and the way she presents herself. I think it's an art form, the way she carries herself, what she wears, every necklace, every fishnet, everything. Just like throughout the film, I think her fashion starts off very colorful or sometimes muted, but there's a lot going on. And then as we get closer to the end, she starts to wear a lot more darker colors like red and black. And that's very symbolic about, like, she's getting closer to death.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about New York City, being an actor and artist in New York City?
Well, first of all, New York City is like one of the greatest cities in the world. There's so many different cultures here. I think art imitates life and life imitates art. And I think if you're surrounded by people who are not like you, it inspires you. It helps you learn more about yourself. And coming to New York City is just bursting with creativity, with opportunity. You randomly run into people on the train. I've met so many collaborators that way, just randomly walking on the street, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you a model? Like, come do this shoot with me." And then, that leads to something else. I love that. And I love that New York is the center of all art. There's performance artists here, there's musical theater, there's film, there's TV, there's ballet, there's cinematography, everything you can think of. I also found myself here in New York because there's a huge queer community in New York. Everybody accepted me for how I introduced myself to them, and just having people believe me for how I introduced myself was so much that I've never got in the past. It gave me permission to try different things. And I was like, okay, I'm safe here. People love queer people here. I think it really shaped who I am today. It made me a harder worker.
You talked a little bit about queer, trans, and New York. How does the queer trans experience contribute to your art making and your acting and your storytelling?
It's embedded in everything I do. It's something that I can't escape because it is who I am. It's kind of like the fact that I'm Mexican American. Like, that's something that I can't shy away from. So it's always going to be embedded in everything I do. The stories I tell, I talk about my life, I talk about my insecurities, and I think a huge part of those insecurities in my journey is how I came to terms with the fact that I'm trans and how um, I'm still growing every day into the woman that I want to be. And so I think I choose projects where I can teach people a little bit about how to think more freely, how to be more accepting, proving authority wrong, because I've never liked authority. And I think this project is talking a lot about that.
What would you say to young people who are looking for something, let's say advice?
Always make sure you have your community. That is first and foremost. Community is huge because as a trans person, it can feel very lonely at times. And you can feel like you're the only one in the world who feels this way, who has body dysmorphia, who feels like they're not seen in the way that they want to be seen. But when you meet other people who feel the same way, you guys can kind of protect each other, look after each other, inspire each other, uplift each other, give each other opportunities, or just make art together. We kind of have forgotten that all of us have a duty of telling history, telling our own stories. So never forget to write about your life, write about your feelings. I would say that. I would also say never change who you are for anyone. If you are very certain about who you are, you're confident, you walk proud, then you're going to get cast in things. You're going to be wanted by others. People are going to want to collaborate with you. I also think listening is super important. Listening to what's going on in the world. Always make sure to interact with the world around you, with different things you've never tried before. Also, do what scares you. If you are doing stuff that is too comfortable and it doesn't challenge you, then you're not going to grow and you're not going to achieve the things you want to achieve. I've always achieved my dreams by doing what made me uncomfortable and what scared me. So just follow your heart, keep your community, do what scares you, and love yourself.
What were some of the interesting challenges about this film?
I think what was challenging was telling the story in a way that would be uplifting because and give the audience hope, because it is a very dark script and you could inspire people. Everybody should go see this film because I'm in it. And I think it will raise a lot of interesting conversations. And I think that's what art is meant to do. I'm very dedicated to storytelling. I've loved telling stories my whole life, and telling stories is very powerful. So I hope that people come into this film being ready to think hard and to leave the theater being changed and humbled. Go see it. Go see the movie.